There comes a moment in every ambitious person's life when comfort begins to feel like a cage. You start to realize that security and stagnation often walk hand in hand, and that the real risk isn't in stepping out but in staying put. This audiobook is your guide to transformation, from clocking in for someone else's dream to building your own. You'll discover how to break free from the invisible walls of the employee mindset, think like an owner, and design a business that reflects your true potential. This isn't just about income. It's about independence, impact, and the creation of something that lasts. An empire built on belief, vision, and unstoppable momentum. Let's begin the shift, from employee to entrepreneur. Chapter 1, The Comfort Trap. Why employment holds you back. There's a reason so many people stay in jobs they don't love. It's not because they lack ambition, creativity, or talent. It's because they've been taught to trade potential for predictability. From a young age, we're programmed to seek stability. We're told to get good grades, find a secure job, work hard, and one day maybe we'll retire comfortably. But beneath that promise lies an invisible ceiling. One that limits how far we can grow, how much we can earn, and how fully we can live. This chapter isn't about demonizing employment. It's about exposing the hidden comfort trap. The illusion of safety that keeps millions of intelligent people from ever stepping into their true power. The illusion of security. For decades, the 9-to-5 job was seen as the ultimate form of safety. A steady paycheck, health benefits, and maybe a promotion every few years, it sounded like a fair trade for your time. But times have changed. Today, technology evolves faster than ever. Entire industries rise and fall in the span of a few years. Artificial intelligence, automation, and global competition are rewriting the rules of work. The truth is, security no longer comes from having a job. It comes from having skills, adaptability, and ownership. When you rely solely on one employer, your income depends on someone else's decisions. A company restructuring, a new algorithm, or a simple economic shift can erase years of loyalty in seconds. And yet, we cling to the job because it feels safe. The predictability is comforting, the monthly paycheck, the routine, the structure. But what most people don't realize is that comfort is often the cost of growth. You can't build something extraordinary inside the walls of comfort. Growth lives outside of it. The invisible ceiling. The employee mindset trains you to think in terms of hours, not value. You work a certain number of hours and expect a certain wage in return. But this system limits your potential, because your earning capacity is tied directly to your time. Entrepreneurs don't think in hours, they think in outcomes. They ask questions like, how can I create something that works while I sleep? How can I multiply my value by serving more people at once? What systems can I build that continue generating income even when I'm not actively working? This is where the true difference lies. Employees focus on input. Entrepreneurs focus on impact. When you're paid for time, your ceiling is set. But when you're paid for value, your potential becomes infinite. The invisible ceiling isn't built by your employer. It's built by your beliefs about what's possible. The 9-to-5 mental loop. If you've ever found yourself daydreaming about starting something of your own, a business, a brand, or even a creative side project, and then immediately thought, I don't have the time, you've experienced the mental trap of employment. The job consumes your energy, not just your hours. You get home drained, mentally occupied with tomorrow's tasks. The system is designed to keep you focused on maintaining, not expanding. You're too busy keeping your position to think about creating your freedom. This is the comfort trap. The subtle cycle that convinces you there's no better alternative, that the risk is too high, that entrepreneurship is for other people. But here's the truth. Every entrepreneur you admire was once an employee who decided to stop asking for permission and start creating opportunities. Employee versus owner, the mental divide. Let's break down the real difference between the two mindsets. Employees think in terms of tasks. Entrepreneurs think in terms of vision. Employees wait for direction. Entrepreneurs create direction. Employees fear mistakes. Entrepreneurs learn from them faster than anyone else. Employees seek approval. Entrepreneurs seek results. The mindset of ownership begins with one belief: I am responsible for everything that happens in my world. Once you accept that, you stop blaming circumstances and start designing your outcomes. Why comfort is the enemy of greatness. It's easy to stay where things are familiar. The paycheck arrives, the tasks are predictable, and the expectations are clear. But comfort kills ambition quietly. It doesn't happen in a day, It happens over years of saying, maybe next time. You tell yourself you'll start your business once you save enough money, once you learn enough, once things calm down. But the truth is there's never a perfect time to begin. There's only now. The longer you stay comfortable, the harder it becomes to move. Like muscles that weaken from lack of use, your courage atrophies when you don't stretch it. The entrepreneurs who make it big aren't necessarily the smartest. They're the ones who learn to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Breaking free from the comfort trap. So how do you begin breaking free? Not by quitting your job tomorrow, but by changing how you think today. Start by shifting from dependence to ownership. Instead of saying, my boss doesn't pay me enough, start asking, what value can I create that's worth more? Instead of saying, I can't afford to take that risk, ask, what's the bigger risk, trying and failing or never trying at all? Begin building your exit strategy not from panic, but from purpose. Learn, say, experiment, build something small. But above all, start thinking like the owner of your life, not a renter of your time. The comfort trap is seductive. It whispers promises of safety, routine, and control. But in a world that's changing faster than ever, the safest place is often the one that gives you the least control. The real freedom begins the moment you decide that comfort will no longer be your compass. Because growth, real, lasting, exponential growth, only begins when you choose to step beyond it. Chapter 2, Shattering the Chains, the First Mindset Shift. From Employee Mindset to Entrepreneurial Empire. Written and published by the Audiobook Library. Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff. Behind you is everything you've ever known. The comfort of a paycheck, the predictability of a schedule, the identity you've built around being a good employee. Ahead of you is open space, possibility, freedom, and yes, risk. The leap feels terrifying, doesn't it? That's because it's not just a leap of career, it's a leap of mindset. This is where every true entrepreneur begins, by shattering the mental chains that keep them tied to safety and stepping into the uncertainty of creation. This chapter is about that moment, the shift from earning a living to creating value, from depending on a system to designing your own. The first chain, the earning mentality. When you've spent years as an employee, your entire financial logic revolves around one simple formula. Time equals money. You work for an hour, you get paid for that hour. You work more hours, you get more pay. It's predictable, measurable, and comforting. But here's the problem. That equation will never lead to freedom. True wealth doesn't come from working for money, it comes from making money work for you. And that shift begins when you stop asking, how much will I earn? And start asking, what value can I create? Entrepreneurs don't trade time, they trade solutions. They don't measure effort, they measure impact. An employee thinks, I get paid to do this task. An entrepreneur thinks, I get paid to solve this problem, and if I can solve it for one person, I can solve it for 1,000. That's the first crack in the chain, realizing that your time isn't your most valuable resource, your ideas are. The second chain, the fear of uncertainty. Let's be honest, fear is the biggest barrier between an employee mindset and an entrepreneurial one. It's not laziness. It's not lack of knowledge. It's fear of failure, of judgment, of the unknown. We're taught from childhood to avoid uncertainty. School trains us to seek the right answer, not to experiment. Employment rewards predictability, not innovation. But in the entrepreneurial world, uncertainty isn't the enemy, it's the playing field. Every opportunity you'll ever have lives inside uncertainty. The entrepreneurs who thrive aren't the ones who eliminate fear, they're the ones who move forward despite it. They've learned to reframe risk. Instead of asking, what if it doesn't work? They ask, what if it does? Instead of saying, what if I lose my savings? They ask, what if I gain my freedom? Here's a truth most never realize. Fear doesn't disappear when you become successful. It evolves. But so does your courage. The third chain, waiting for permission. The employee mindset is built on hierarchy. You ask for approval. You wait for instructions. You follow procedure. But entrepreneurship has no permission slip. There's no boss to tell you good job, no manager to confirm your idea, no handbook that guarantees success. You are the permission. When you embrace the entrepreneurial path, you stop waiting for someone else to validate your worth. You begin making bold decisions based on your vision, not someone else's approval. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Most people say, I'll start once I know it'll work. Entrepreneurs say, I'll start and make it work. The act of beginning is the permission itself. The power of ownership. The greatest mindset shift of all is ownership, not just of your business but of your outcomes, your results, and your growth. When you're employed, responsibility is shared. If things go wrong, there's always someone else to point to. But in entrepreneurship, everything begins and ends with you. That might sound like pressure, but it's actually liberation. Because when you own everything, you gain the power to change anything. Ownership means you no longer say, "It's not my fault." You start asking, "What can I do about it?" It means you stop being reactive and start being creative. When something fails, you learn. When something works, you replicate. Every mistake becomes data. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to grow sharper, wiser, and stronger. That's the essence of entrepreneurial thinking, seeing yourself as the cause, not the effect. From consumer to creator. The final chain that must be broken is subtle but profound. Employees, even high-performing ones, are trained to be consumers. They consume tasks, instructions, and information. They react to what's given. Entrepreneurs, on the other hand, are creators. They don't wait for opportunities, they build them. They don't consume systems, they design them. The shift changes everything. You stop saying, "I wish someone would invent that," and start saying, "Why not me?" You stop looking at successful companies as lucky and start studying the patterns they've built. It's not about luck. It's about leverage. When you move from consumer to creator, the world stops being something that happens to you and becomes something you shape. Breaking the chains for good. Breaking free from the employee mindset isn't a one-time event. It's a gradual process, a daily rewiring of thought and habit. It starts with awareness, then with courage, then with consistent action. You begin to view risk differently. You start valuing ideas over time. You take responsibility for your outcomes. And little by little, those old mental chains, fear, dependency, hesitation, begin to dissolve. Soon you realize you're no longer thinking like an employee. You're thinking like a builder, a leader, a creator of value and opportunity. That's the first real step toward your entrepreneurial empire, not a business plan, not a logo, not even funding. It's a decision. A decision to stop renting your potential and start owning your future. A closing thought. As you move through this journey, remember, every empire began as a mindset shift. Before the company, before the team, before the revenue, there was a single thought. I am capable of creating more. Once you believe that, you've already begun. Chapter 3, Building Your Blueprint, From Idea to First Steps. Every great empire begins as a single spark, a moment when an idea flashes through your mind and refuses to leave. It might come during your commute, at your desk, or in the quiet moments before sleep. It's that thought that whispers, "What if I built something of my own?" That's where every entrepreneur's journey begins. Not with money, not with a product, but with possibility. In this chapter, we take that spark and begin to shape it into something real. Because ideas are easy. Execution, that's where you separate the dreamers from the builders. From passion to purpose, finding your spark. Let's start with the question that every aspiring entrepreneur must face. What should I build? Most people overthink this question to the point of paralysis. They believe they need $1 billion idea, something revolutionary, something no one's ever thought of before. But here's the truth, you don't need to invent the next iPhone. You just need to solve a problem that matters. The best ideas often come from your own frustrations, the moments where you've thought, "Why isn't there a better way to do this?" Every major innovation started as a personal pain point. Airbnb came from two broke friends who couldn't afford rent. Uber was born from someone who couldn't find a taxi. Slack came from a failed video game company that needed a better way to communicate. Your spark is already around you. You just need to pay attention. Here's a simple framework. Passion plus problem plus people equals purpose. Find something you care about deeply, a problem connected to it, and a group of people who share that struggle. That's your foundation. The minimum viable dream, starting small, thinking big. Once you've found your idea, the next instinct is to make it perfect. You start designing logos, building websites, imagining your first 10,000 customers. But perfection is the enemy of progress. Most entrepreneurs don't fail because their ideas are bad, they fail because they never start. So here's your next mindset shift. Don't build the perfect product. Build the smallest version that works. This is your minimum viable product, your MVP. It's not meant to impress everyone, it's meant to test reality. Let's say your idea is a new digital course platform. You don't need an app, a team, or investors. You need one course, one landing page, one paying customer. Because that's where the learning begins, when real people interact with your idea. Every sale, every question, every complaint gives you data. You're not launching a business, you're running an experiment. And experiments are meant to evolve. Speed over perfection, the power of rapid iteration. Here's a secret most successful founders understand. You don't need to get it right, you just need to get it going. Entrepreneurship is a process of constant iteration. You build, test, learn, adjust, over and over again. Think about it like this. Your first version isn't the goal. It's the foundation for all the versions that come after. Jeff Bezos didn't start Amazon with global infrastructure. He started by selling books online, one narrow niche that proved people would buy things on the internet. The same applies to you. Start small. Ship fast. Learn relentlessly. If your idea fails, it's not a defeat, it's data. Every pivot makes you sharper, every setback builds resilience. That's the secret the 9-to-5 world doesn't teach you. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a requirement for it. The initial hustler phase, doing what it takes. Every entrepreneur starts as a one-person army. You're the CEO, the marketer, the customer service rep, and sometimes the janitor. And that's okay. Because in those early stages, you're not just building a business, you're building yourself. The hustler phase is where you learn the mechanics of your industry, the psychology of your customers, and the limits of your endurance. You'll stay up late tweaking your product, answering DMs, studying analytics, and questioning your sanity. But those long nights are your foundation, the unglamorous grind that no one sees but everyone benefits from later. It's not forever, but it's necessary. Because before you can lead others, you must first learn to lead yourself. Before you can scale a business, you must prove you can keep a promise to yourself. The feedback loop, listening, learning, adapting. One of the biggest traps new entrepreneurs fall into is building in isolation. You spend months creating something you think people will love, only to discover they didn't want it at all. The cure for this? Feedback. Constant, honest feedback. Talk to your potential customers early and often. Ask what they need, not what they want. People often can't describe their solution, but they can always describe their pain. The more you listen, the sharper your product becomes. The sharper your product, the faster your business grows. Remember, great entrepreneurs are great listeners first. Momentum, the most valuable currency. Once you start taking action, even small action, you build something far more powerful than money. Momentum. Momentum turns doubt into belief. It transforms someday into today. The first client, the first sale, the first positive review, they're not just milestones, they're proof that your vision is real. Momentum creates energy, and energy attracts opportunity. That's why the greatest entrepreneurs aren't always the smartest. They're the ones who never stop moving. The bridge between vision and reality. Every empire begins in the mind, but it's built through motion. You can read, plan, and dream forever, but until you take that first step, it's all potential energy. So what's your next step? Is it sketching out your idea? Talking to one potential customer? Creating your first small version of your product or service? Whatever it is, do it today. Because every day you wait, the dream fades a little. Entrepreneurship doesn't begin when you know everything. It begins when you decide to start anyway. A closing thought. This chapter isn't about building a perfect blueprint. It's about building a beginning. Every empire starts messy. Every idea feels impossible at first. But once you take that first imperfect step, something magical happens. The path begins to appear. The blueprint doesn't exist before you start. It's drawn as you move forward. So, grab your idea, however small it seems, and take your first step. Because right now, at this moment, you are no longer just an employee dreaming of freedom. You are a builder, constructing the foundation of your entrepreneurial empire. Chapter 4, Scaling Beyond Self, Leveraging and Leading. Every empire begins with one person, one vision, one relentless drive. But no empire is ever sustained by one person alone. There comes a moment in every entrepreneur's journey when working harder no longer creates growth. You hit a wall, not of opportunity but of capacity. And when that moment arrives, it's not your skills or effort that determine your next level. It's your ability to leverage, delegate, and lead. This chapter is about crossing that invisible line, from operator to architect. From building the business, to building the people who build the business. The myth of the solo hero. In the early stages, doing everything yourself feels noble. You know your product, your customers, your mission, and you believe no one can do it better than you. But that belief, if left unchecked, becomes the very thing that holds you back. You can't scale if you insist on being the bottleneck. You can't lead a team if you're busy firefighting every small issue. Here's the harsh truth. If your business collapses when you step away, you don't own a business, you own a job. True entrepreneurship is about creating systems that outlive your presence. So, if you want freedom, real freedom, you must first learn to let go. Let go of perfection. Let go of control. And most importantly, let go of the belief that your value comes from doing everything yourself. Your value now comes from enabling others to perform at their best. Delegation, the skill that multiplies time. Delegation isn't just about assigning tasks. It's about transferring ownership, giving others the authority and trust to make decisions. Most people misunderstand delegation. They see it as a way to offload work. But the best entrepreneurs see it as a way to create leaders. When you delegate effectively, you're not just freeing your own time, you're multiplying your impact. Here's how to do it strategically. Start with clarity. Define the outcome, not the process. Don't tell people how to do something. Tell them what success looks like. Empower decision-making. Allow your team to make choices. If they fail, guide them, don't take over. The goal isn't to avoid mistakes, it's to build judgment. Create feedback loops. Schedule regular check-ins, not micromanagement sessions. Ask, what's working? What's blocking you? What do you need? The best leaders don't do the most. They enable the most to be done. Automation. Systems that work so you don't have to. Once you begin delegating, the next level of leverage is automation. Using technology to replace repetitive tasks and create consistent results. Automation isn't about replacing people. It's about removing friction so your people can focus on what truly matters: creativity, strategy, and relationships. Every business has processes that can be automated. Onboarding new clients, sending invoices, collecting data or analytics, marketing campaigns, customer follow-ups. Think of automation as invisible employees, quiet, consistent, and always on time. A system that saves you even 10 minutes a day adds up to over 60 hours a year. That's a full work week of regained focus. For every process you optimize. Entrepreneurs who embrace automation don't just grow faster, they stay mentally lighter. They build businesses that scale without scaling chaos. From manager to visionary, redefining leadership. As your team grows, your role must evolve. At first, you manage tasks. Then you manage people. But true leadership isn't management, it's alignment. A visionary leader doesn't tell people what to do. They share why it matters. Your job is to set the direction, define the mission, and keep everyone aligned with the bigger picture. The moment your team understands why their work matters, you no longer have to push them. They'll pull themselves forward. Leadership is not about control. It's about inspiration. And inspiration is contagious. People don't follow titles. They follow conviction. Culture, the invisible engine of growth. Every empire runs on culture, the unspoken values that shape how people think, act, and collaborate. You can't fake culture. You build it one decision, one conversation, one example at a time. Here's a truth most leaders miss. Your culture is a reflection of you. If you value integrity, your team will follow suit. If you embrace accountability, your team will too. But if you cut corners, ignore feedback, or avoid tough conversations, so will they. Culture is your silent teacher when you're not in the room. And it determines whether your business thrives or collapses under pressure. The growth flywheel. Reinventing yourself in the business. Once you delegate, automate, and align, your business enters a new phase. Momentum compounds. Your systems generate growth. Your people innovate. Your focus shifts to vision and long-term strategy. But remember, scaling isn't a destination. It's a rhythm. Every level of growth demands a new version of you. The mindset that built your first success won't carry you to the next. You must evolve constantly, from operator to strategist, from doer to designer. The secret of every lasting empire is simple. Its founder never stops learning, never stops adapting, never stops leading by example. A closing thought. Scaling isn't about adding more, It's about refining what works and letting go of what doesn't. It's about transitioning from being inside your business to standing above it, guiding it with vision instead of muscle. In the beginning, you built your dream through hard work. Now you'll sustain it through smart work, through systems, through people, through leadership. This is where true freedom begins, when your business runs without you having to chase it. When you can step back, look around, and realize your empire is no longer just a vision. It's a living, growing legacy. Chapter 5: The Entrepreneurial Legacy, Impact and Freedom. There comes a moment in every entrepreneur's story when the noise fades, the hustle slows, and you look around at what you've built, at who you've become, and realize something profound. It was never just about money. It was never just about success. It was about freedom. Not the kind of freedom defined by a calendar or a paycheck, but the freedom to choose how you live, how you lead, how you impact the world. That's the destination every entrepreneur secretly seeks. And it begins with redefining what success truly means. Beyond the numbers, redefining success. In the early days, success is survival, paying the bills, landing clients, staying afloat. Then it becomes growth, revenue, recognition, scaling the business. But as you evolve, you begin to see a deeper truth. Money is not the goal. It's a tool. It's the fuel that powers your mission, the amplifier of your vision, the resource that lets you build and give back. The real reward of entrepreneurship isn't in the numbers on your screen. It's in the lives you touch, the people you empower, and the impact that outlives your presence. True success is building something that keeps creating value long after you've stepped away. From control to contribution. There's a pivotal mindset shift that every seasoned entrepreneur experiences. It's the moment you move from control to contribution. In the beginning, you do it all because you must. The long hours, the endless tweaks, the constant pressure to get it right. But as your empire grows, your role changes. Now your job isn't to hold everything together. It's to lift others higher. You move from being the driver to being the guide. From working in the business to working on it, and finally, beyond it. The most fulfilled entrepreneurs are those who use their freedom to create freedom for others. Their team, their customers, their community. That's the essence of legacy. Building something that outlives you. Every great empire is built on systems, yes, but the greatest ones are built on values. What principles guide your decisions? What standards do you uphold even when no one's watching? What kind of culture will your business embody when you're not in the room? Legacy isn't about being remembered, it's about being replicated. It's about passing down a way of thinking, a way of leading, a way of serving that continues to shape lives long after you're gone. Think of it like planting a tree. You may never sit in its shade, but someone will. And that's enough. Freedom, the ultimate metric. Most people chase freedom as a destination. Once I hit this goal, I'll finally be free. But real freedom isn't something you find at the end of the road. It's something you design into the journey. Freedom begins the moment you stop trading time for money. When your business becomes a system that generates value whether you're working or resting. Freedom deepens when you trust your team to make decisions without you. When you can step away, confident that your creation continues to thrive. And freedom matures when you wake up each morning and realize you're not driven by obligation. You're pulled by purpose. That's the kind of success no salary, title, or recognition can match. The purpose cycle: give, grow, repeat. As you achieve more, a new kind of motivation takes root. You no longer strive to prove yourself. You strive to improve others. You start investing, not just in businesses but in people, in ideas, in causes that move humanity forward. You mentor the next generation of entrepreneurs. You fund dreams that once looked impossible. You give back, not from guilt, but from gratitude. Because you remember where you started, the uncertainty, the fear, the doubt. And now you become the light for those still walking that path. That's the final evolution of the entrepreneurial mindset. To realize that your greatest return on investment isn't financial. It's human. The infinite game. Entrepreneurship is not a sprint. It's not even a marathon. It's an infinite game. The rules evolve, the players change, but the purpose remains. To keep building, keep growing, keep contributing. Your business may shift. Your goals may evolve. But your mindset, your belief in your ability to create, adapt, and lead, that's what sustains you. Because at its core, entrepreneurship isn't about escaping a job. It's about embracing a calling. It's the art of turning vision into value, ideas into impact, and effort into evolution. And once you step into that way of thinking, there's no going back. A closing thought. You began this journey as an employee, searching for freedom. You became an entrepreneur, creating your own path. And now you stand as a builder of legacy, shaping a future that will continue without you. That's not just business. That's transformation. The world doesn't remember those who simply worked hard. It remembers those who built something worth continuing. So as you look toward the horizon of your own empire, ask yourself, not what can I gain, but what can I give? Because in the end, wealth fades. Titles fade. But impact is forever. Chapter 6, The Comfort Trap. Why employment holds you back. Every journey begins with a realization that the life you've built for security may also be the very thing holding you back. You wake up at the same time every day. You commute the same route, sit at the same desk, complete the same tasks, and receive the same paycheck. It's safe, predictable, comfortable. But comfort, if left unchecked, becomes a cage. And the bars are built not from steel, but from fear. The illusion of security. Employment offers something that feels priceless: security, a steady income, healthcare, structure, and a clear career ladder. But in today's world, those guarantees are becoming fragile. Automation, AI, market shifts. The landscape changes faster than any job title can keep up. What feels secure today can vanish tomorrow. And the greatest danger isn't losing your job, it's losing your edge. Because the longer you stay comfortable, the quieter your ambition becomes. You stop questioning. You stop creating. And eventually, you stop growing. That's the hidden cost of comfort. It convinces you to trade possibility for predictability. The invisible ceiling. Every employee hits an invisible ceiling, not a physical one, but a mental one. No matter how talented you are, you operate within boundaries someone else has defined. Your income is capped by salary bands. Your creative ideas are filtered through approvals. Your growth is measured on someone else's scale. And when you spend years playing within those boundaries, you start to internalize them. You begin to believe that this is just how things are. That belief is the silent killer of potential. Because the truth is, your capacity to create wealth, impact, and innovation was never limited by your abilities. It was limited by your environment. The ceiling only exists if you keep standing beneath it. The employee mindset versus the entrepreneur mindset. To escape the comfort trap, you must recognize the difference between working for a system and building one. Here's the truth. An employee mindset asks, what's expected of me? An entrepreneur's mindset asks, what's possible? An employee seeks direction. An entrepreneur creates direction. An employee earns for time. An entrepreneur earns for impact. And while one builds someone else's dream, the other architects their own. This doesn't make one better than the other. But if you crave freedom, wealth, and control over your destiny, then you must learn to unlearn the habits of dependency. The hidden addiction to comfort. Comfort is addictive, more powerful than caffeine, more subtle than fear. It whispers to you, why take risks when things are fine? Why start something new when your bills are paid? Why chase uncertainty when you already have stability? But growth and comfort cannot coexist. One must give way to the other. Entrepreneurs understand this instinctively. They know that comfort feels safe, right up until it suffocates your potential. Because comfort numbs hunger. And hunger is what drives evolution. If you want to create, build, and expand, you must be willing to get uncomfortable on purpose. Breaking the pattern. Awakening the entrepreneur within. Every empire begins with a decision, the decision to question everything. Ask yourself, what would happen if I stopped trading time for money? What if I built something that paid me while I sleep? What if I stopped chasing promotions and started creating opportunities? These aren't just questions, they're invitations. Invitations to think like an owner. To reclaim the power you unknowingly gave away in exchange for comfort. Because here's the truth, you were never meant to just earn a living. You were meant to create a life. The courage to walk away. Walking away from security doesn't mean recklessness. It means courage. It's looking at a steady paycheck and saying, I'm grateful for this, but I'm ready for more. It's stepping into uncertainty not because it's easy, but because you understand that everything meaningful begins in discomfort. Entrepreneurs aren't fearless, they just act despite fear. They know that the price of freedom is uncertainty, and they're willing to pay it. Because they've realized that no salary is worth selling your potential. Freedom begins in the mind. Before you start a business, before you write a plan, before you take a risk, you must first make the shift in your mind. Freedom doesn't start when you quit your job. It starts when you stop thinking like an employee. It starts the moment you realize that your time, your ideas, and your energy are your greatest assets, and you have the power to invest them however you choose. Once that realization takes hold, you can never go back to thinking small again. Closing reflection. The comfort trap is seductive. It feels like peace. But in reality, it's the slow erosion of possibility. If you felt the pull to build something of your own, listen to it. That's not rebellion. That's your potential calling you home. You were not born to simply maintain systems. You were born to create them. The first step toward your entrepreneurial empire is not a business plan. It's the courage to believe that your life can be bigger than your job description. So ask yourself, are you living for security or for significance? Because only one leads to freedom. Chapter 7, Shattering the Chains, the first mindset shift. From employee mindset to entrepreneurial empire. Written and published by the Audiobook Library. Every transformation begins with a fracture. That single, defining moment when the illusion breaks, and you realize the life you've been living was never designed for your greatness. You start to see the invisible chains that have kept you bound. Not physical but mental. The chains of routine. The chains of fear. The chains of thinking small. And in that moment of awareness, something powerful happens. You stop waiting for permission and start creating your own path. The first shift, from earning a living to creating value. For most of your life, you've been conditioned to believe that your worth is tied to your wage, that your time equals money, that the more hours you trade, the more valuable you become. But that's a broken formula, one that caps both income and impact. The entrepreneur sees things differently. They understand that money is not earned by effort alone. It's attracted through value. When you create value, when you solve problems, simplify lives, or spark transformation, the world rewards you. This is the first great mindset shift. You stop thinking like a laborer and start thinking like a creator. You no longer ask, how much will they pay me? You ask, how much value can I create? That simple change in perspective transforms everything. Because the moment you focus on creating, your potential becomes limitless. The second shift, from fear of risk to love of opportunity. The employee mindset views risk as danger. The entrepreneurial mindset views risk as information. When something feels uncertain, most people retreat. They want guarantees, policies, predictability. But the entrepreneur sees uncertainty as possibility, as the open field where innovation lives. It's not about being reckless. It's about being strategic. You calculate, prepare, and act. Not because it's safe, but because it's necessary. Every empire was born from risk. Every innovation came from someone who said, I don't know exactly how this will turn out, but I'm going to find out. So reframe the word risk. It's not a threat. It's a threshold. A door that only opens for those brave enough to walk through. The third shift, from blame to ownership. Here's the truth most people avoid. You can't control everything, but you can control your response to everything. The employee mindset says, my boss doesn't recognize me. The system is unfair. I'm not given enough opportunities. The entrepreneurial mindset says, if I'm not recognized, I'll build something impossible to ignore. If the system doesn't work for me, I'll create my own. If opportunity doesn't knock, I'll build the door. That's ownership. Ownership is not about blame, it's about empowerment. It's realizing that everything in your life, whether you created it intentionally or not, is a reflection of your decisions, actions, and beliefs. And that means if you created it once, you can recreate it differently. The moment you embrace ownership, you take back your power, and your excuses evaporate. The power of the mirror. Stand in front of a mirror for a moment. Really look at yourself. Every success, every failure, every choice, every habit. It all leads back to the person staring back at you. That's not blame. That's liberation. Because once you accept that you are the architect of your life, you realize that no one is coming to save you. And that's the best news imaginable. You don't need saving. You need awakening. When you take responsibility for your direction, you unlock control over your destiny. You stop drifting and start designing. The fourth shift, from scarcity to abundance. Scarcity says, there's not enough. Abundance says, there's more than enough, if I create it. Employees think in terms of limits, limited pay, limited growth, limited time. Entrepreneurs think in terms of leverage, how to multiply time, money, and results. Scarcity fears competition. Abundance welcomes collaboration. Scarcity clings to resources. Abundance creates resources. When you start seeing the world through the lens of abundance, you stop fighting for your share of the pie and start building a bigger oven. Because the truth is, the only limits that exist are the ones you believe in. The rebirth of identity. This chapter isn't about quitting your job. It's about quitting your old identity. It's about letting go of the version of yourself that was trained to follow and stepping into the version that's destined to lead. It's about moving from the comfort of obedience to the courage of creation, from waiting for approval to giving yourself permission, from chasing opportunities to becoming one. A final reflection. If you felt trapped, frustrated, or unseen, remember this. Those feelings are not punishment. They're signals. They're your potential calling you to something greater. The discomfort you feel isn't failure, it's friction. The necessary resistance that forms a new identity. You're not breaking down. You're breaking free. So take a deep breath and repeat this to yourself. I am no longer a product of systems. I am a creator of them. I no longer wait for opportunity, I build it. I no longer chase freedom, I embody it. The chains are gone. The limits are gone. The new identity has begun. Welcome to the mindset that builds empires. Chapter 8, Building Your Blueprint. From idea to first steps. Every great empire begins with a single spark, an idea that refuses to fade. But ideas alone mean nothing until they collide with action. This is where vision meets motion, where the dreamer becomes the builder. If you've made it this far, you've already broken free from the chains of old thinking. Now it's time to create something real. Step 1. Finding your spark. The foundation of every business lies in one powerful truth. You must solve a problem that matters. Forget chasing trends. Forget copying competitors. Instead, look inward, to the intersection of your passion, skill, and market need. Ask yourself, what problems do I naturally notice that others ignore? What do people constantly ask me for help with? What frustrates me so much that I feel called to fix it? That intersection, between purpose and problem, is your entrepreneurial spark. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. Because real problems create real businesses. Step 2. Define your value, the why you factor. In a world full of noise, clarity wins. Before you think about branding, marketing, or sales, define your value proposition. What makes your solution different, faster, or easier than anything else out there? Why should someone choose you? This isn't arrogance, it's alignment. You're not competing on being louder, you're competing on being clearer. An entrepreneur's first product isn't a service or a gadget. It's a promise, a clear, specific promise that solves pain or delivers transformation. Write it down. Refine it until it sinks. If you can't describe your business in one sentence, you're not ready to sell it yet. Step 3. Start lean, the MVP principle. Most people never start because they think they need more. More time, more money, more experience, more confidence. But every empire begins with something simple, the minimum viable product or MVP. The MVP isn't the perfect version. It's the test version. It's your first experiment to see what works and what doesn't. Whether you're building a physical product, a coaching business, a digital brand, or a consultancy, your goal isn't perfection, it's proof. Proof that people want what you're creating. Proof that they'll pay for it. Proof that you can deliver results. Launch lean. Learn fast. Every failure is just feedback, the data that shapes your masterpiece. Remember, done is better than perfect. And imperfect action is infinitely better than endless planning. Step 4. The power of the hustler phase. No matter how brilliant your idea, you'll have to grind through the early days, the proof of concept phase. This is where many people quit, because they confuse slow progress with no progress. In truth, this phase is where your character is forged. It's where you learn sales, storytelling, marketing, problem solving, all through experience, not theory. You'll have late nights, quiet doubts, and moments where you question everything. That's normal. That's necessary. Because you're not just building a business. You're building the resilience to lead one. The hustler phase teaches you that momentum is built by motion. Every email sent, every client served, every post shared, it compounds. Don't chase instant wins. Chase consistency. The small, invisible actions you take daily become the visible success others will later call overnight. Step 5. Feedback your growth GPS. Here's a truth many first-time entrepreneurs ignore. Your business doesn't exist for you. It exists for your customers. That means feedback isn't optional, it's essential. Every sale, every review, every piece of criticism is data. Data that points to what's working and what isn't. Ask your audience, what did you love? What could be improved? What's missing? Listen not to defend but to refine. The best entrepreneurs don't chase perfection. They iterate. Remember, your business is a living thing. It evolves as you do. Step 6. Build systems early. Even in the beginning, think like a builder of systems, not just a doer of tasks. If you find yourself repeating something more than twice, automate it, template it, or delegate it. Your goal isn't to be busy. It's to be effective. Systems turn chaos into clarity. They allow your business to grow without you being its bottleneck. Simple tools, task managers, templates, automated emails, standardized onboarding. These are the gears of scalability. Because you're not building a job, you're building a machine that generates freedom. Step 7. The courage to be seen. Starting means being visible, and visibility often triggers fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of failure. Fear of not being ready. But readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. You don't need validation. You need momentum. The only difference between those who build empires and those who dream about them is that one group started before they felt prepared. Step into the spotlight even if your voice trembles. Publish the post. Launch the offer. Make the call. You'll be amazed how fast clarity replaces fear once you take action. The blueprint becomes reality. You now have the foundations of an empire, not in theory but in motion. It won't be linear. It won't be easy. But every step forward compounds. Every small win builds momentum. You've already done something extraordinary. You've chosen creation over compliance. And that choice alone puts you in the top 1% of action takers. Because entrepreneurs aren't born, they're built. One idea, one action, one day at a time. And this, right here, is your day 1. Chapter 9, Scaling Beyond Self, Leveraging and Leading. There comes a point in every entrepreneur's journey when the very habits that built your business begin to hold it back. In the early days, you were the engine, doing everything yourself, wearing every hat, answering every email, making every decision. That level of ownership is what got you here. But if you want to grow beyond yourself, if you want to build something that lasts, you must make the hardest shift of all. You must stop being the worker in your business and start being the architect of it. This is where the real empire begins. The trap of the solo success. Many entrepreneurs get stuck in what's called the success trap. Their business works, but only as long as they do. They believe scaling means working more, doing more, and controlling more. But the truth is, scaling means doing less, better. You can't scale chaos. You can only scale clarity. If your business depends on you being everywhere, making every choice, approving every detail, it's not a business. It's a beautifully disguised job. And that's not why you started this journey. You started to create freedom, to create impact, to build something bigger than yourself. So, the next evolution begins here, learning to leverage and lead. Step 1. Mastering the art of delegation. Delegation is not about giving up control, it's about multiplying your capacity. When you delegate the right way, you don't lose power, you expand it. Start by identifying what only you can do, the tasks that are truly strategic, creative, or high impact. Everything else should be automated, outsourced, or assigned. Ask yourself daily, is this the highest and best use of my time? If not, pass it on. Because your time should be spent building systems, nurturing relationships, and making decisions that drive exponential growth, not managing repetitive tasks that drain your focus. Remember, every hour you free from operations is an hour you gain for innovation. Step 2. Build systems that outlive you. An empire is not built on people, it's built on process. People are essential, but systems make them effective. Think of McDonald's, Apple, or Tesla. Their founders aren't flipping burgers or assembling parts. They built systems that deliver excellence without their constant presence. Your goal isn't to be the hardest worker. It's to be the systems thinker. Document every recurring task. Create checklists, templates, and automation workflows. Train your team not just to perform, but to improve the system over time. When systems run your business, your energy is no longer consumed by the day-to-day, it's focused on the next horizon. Step 3. Leading with vision, not supervision. True leadership is not about managing people, it's about inspiring them. The best leaders don't dictate, they direct energy. They paint a clear, vivid picture of the future, then empower their team to make that picture real. Your job isn't to have all the answers, it's to ask the right questions. It's to guide your team toward thinking, innovating, and owning results. Leadership means creating an environment where your people don't just work for your vision, they work within it as co-owners of its success. And remember, culture is not what you write on the wall, it's what you tolerate every day. Set the standard. Lead by example. Model excellence and humility in equal measure. Step 4. Automation, freedom through technology. We live in an era where technology can do the heavy lifting, if you use it wisely. Automate your marketing, customer onboarding, payments, and reporting wherever possible. Leverage AI, scheduling tools, and data dashboards to free up time and increase precision. Automation isn't about replacing the human touch, it's about removing the human burden. Every repetitive process that can be automated is a piece of your time returned to you. And every piece of time returned is another brick in the wall of freedom. Step 5. The growth flywheel. Scaling sustainably is not about explosive moments, it's about consistent cycles. Here's how the flywheel works. Create value, attract customers. Deliver excellence, earn trust. Collect feedback, improve. Refine systems, increase capacity. Reinvest profits, scale again. Each loop compounds your efficiency, your credibility, and your impact. The faster you complete these cycles, and the more disciplined you are in refining them, the faster your empire expands. Because growth isn't magic. It's momentum, built through repetition, improvement, and vision. Step 6. Becoming the chief visionary. At this stage, your job evolves from doing and managing to thinking and creating. You are now the chief visionary, the one who defines where the business goes next. That means stepping back from operations to think strategically. Where is the market heading? What new problems can we solve? How can we stay innovative and irreplaceable? The more time you spend thinking big, the more exponential your business becomes. Most entrepreneurs are too busy working in their business to work on their business. But the empire builders, they live in the space of strategy. That's where new opportunities are born. Step 7. The freedom multiplier. Scaling beyond yourself isn't just about profit, it's about peace. Freedom is the ultimate dividend of entrepreneurship. The freedom to design your days, to choose your projects, to work because you want to, not because you must. But that freedom only comes when your systems, team, and mindset are aligned towards self-sufficiency. When your business can run, thrive, and grow, even when you step away. That's not just success. That's sovereignty. A new chapter of leadership. This chapter marks the beginning of your next evolution. You're no longer just a builder, you're a leader. You're no longer just an operator, you're an orchestrator. Your empire now moves with rhythm and resilience. Your systems create freedom. Your people carry the vision forward. And you, the once employee who dared to dream, have now become the architect of something far greater than a career. You've built a legacy in motion.